So the story I'm going to tell you is very simple. Little distraction from all the complex stuff you have been hearing. Okay, so a quick executive summary for people who don't think about CPG islands on a daily basis. And since it's executive summary, it's approximation, obviously. Okay, so first thing to know, remind yourself is that for methylated CG dinucleotides, there is a spontaneous deamination and mutation during meiosis. Okay, and that leads to overall depletion of CG dinucleotide in the genome. The ones that remain, many of them are clustered in few hundred base pair regions, and those are what we call it CPG islands or CGIs. Okay, and the CGIs are largely unmethylated, specifically in germline and early development, and that explains how they can escape this spontaneous mutation and survive. So about 50 to 70% of vertebrate gene promoters overlap a CPG island, and seeing from the CGI's perspective, about half of them overlap a known gene promoter, other half don't. Okay, and we don't quite know what they do. Those are referred to as orphan CGIs. And broadly speaking, methylation of a CGI corresponds, or methylation of CG dinucleotide rather, corresponds to transcriptional repression, and the other way around corresponds to transcriptionally active regions. So because CGIs are largely unmethylated, they are usually transcriptionally active. Okay? And that's an important feature to remember. So what can that do? So it has been shown that retrogenes, so these are genes that are transcribed mRNA, reverse transcribed back in the inserted in the DNA. Now you have a gene without any introns and without any promoter, right? So many of these genes eventually co-opt an upstream CGI as their promoter. So about 86% of retrogenes have co-opted an orphan CGI as their promoter. So this has happened during evolution many, many times. So the question we had was, does it happen in normal genomes today? Okay. So if a gene has its own proximal promoter methylated, i.e. the gene is expected to be silenced, is it possible that it can recruit an upstream CPG island and get transcribed anyway? Okay. And this whole project was motivated by a completely unsuspecting conversation with Chuck Vinson at NCI, and he showed us this gene he has been working on. It's called FAT1 in mouse. It's a tumor suppressor. And he showed me this intriguing slide, which was intriguing for me, not knowing anything about this phenomenon. So here is the only known promoter of this gene, and here is the methylation track, here is the RNA-seq track. So highly methylated at the promoter, but highly expressed at the same time. But when you go upstream, there is a CPG island here that is unmethylated, and you can see that RNA reads are originating somewhere around here and going all the way. Okay? So the question that, innocent question we had was, how often does this happen in human genome? Okay? And when we see it happening, are CGIs the primary promoters of those genes, or which would be simply a case of misannotation, or they are alternative promoters working in a specific situation? And if that can happen, then it would have implication in cancer, because there is a general hypomethylation in cancer that could activate CGIs, that could then activate a downstream gene which is not supposed to be active. And is there any evidence of selection if this actually happens? So these are the questions that led us on this project. So to set up the analysis infrastructure, so we look at 30 plus odd primary tissues from ENCODE and a couple of cell lines as well as some mouse data. Okay? And our basic foreground and background are composed of these two classes of genes. First class, we call them MET-EXP, MET expressed. These are the genes which are highly expressed among the top 25 percentile of gene expression in that cell type, and their promoter is methylated. Okay? And they have a CGI upstream. And likewise, our negative set is methylated and not expressed. And we are interested in knowing, is there any evidence of transcription from here? What's special about that distinguishes these two cases? Okay. So what are the anticipated features, differences between these two classes? The first feature, obvious one, is are CGIs of meth-expressed genes closer to the gene? That might make it sort of easier to start transcription and keep on going. Do we see an inverse correlation between methylation status here and the expression there, when this is, the proximal promoter is itself methylated? Do we see a direct evidence of transcription initiation complex forming at the CGI and not at the promoter? Do we see other active promoter marks only at CGI and not at promoter? Do we see a direct evidence of splicing transcription starting at the CGI, going all the way and getting spliced? So we need to gather all these evidences to claim that it's actually happening. And finally, is there an evidence of selection? So I'll just take you through all those anticipated hypotheses very quickly, show the results very quickly. So the first thing was about distance. So checks out. So this, in all the next 5-6 slides, yellow is the foreground and red is the background. So the distance from the downstream gene promoter is much, the scale is so much smaller than the other case. The methylation level is largely unmethylated, the CGIs that need to do the job. Next, we wanted to look at evidence of transcription start at the CGI and not at the promoter. So for that, we looked at two different types of evidence. One is the standard CAGE tags, which sequences the first 27 base pairs of the full-length mRNA. And the second one is this Pol2 serine 5 phosphorylation specific ChIP-seq. So Pol2 inactive, just at the initiation stage, it has this kind of mark, and during elongation stage, it has a different mark. Okay? So if you specifically look for ChIP-seq data for this, then we want to corroborate our hypothesis with that sort of evidence. Okay, so for this analysis, I'm adding another class of genes, which is not methylated and expressed, the normal case. Okay? Now, so few things I want to point out. So by the way, this section and that section are equivalent using CAGE tag or the Pol2 serine 5P tag mark. Okay, so first thing to note is CGIs in general have some transcription going on. Okay, so not much changes here also, there also. Second thing to note is that at the promoter, when is methylated and not expressed, that this and that, they form the two extremes of what we can expect. So clearly methylation and no expression, and clearly not methylation and expression. So those two create the extreme cases. And now let's compare the pink here and pink there. So for the meth express case, CGI shows much greater signal of initiation than the promoter. And this is exactly the opposite for not meth expressed. Okay? So this sort of tells us that the transcription actually is starting at the CGI and not at the promoter. And then we look at evidence of actually RNA-seq data going through from the CGI all the way down to the gene. So that's this. So that is RNA-seq-based fractional read coverage in the segment between the CGI and the gene. And this one here is, we are looking at RNA-seq reads that are split between CGI and the gene, inside the gene body. So there is an evidence of splicing, right? And what we are showing here is the ratio of evidence that we find for one class compared to another class. Okay? So no matter how you look at it, there is much more evidence of splicing going on in our foreground case. And finally, something about selection. So we looked at selection at two different ways. Selection of the CGIs themselves, and there we looked at cross-species conservation, which is the FASCON score. We also looked at within human population, the derived allele frequencies. Are they under selection in human population as well? And in both cases, we see clear signal across all the tissue types. And finally, we looked at whether there is a evidence of synteny between the CGI and the gene. If the CGI is needed for the gene, it better be kept together. Okay? So we estimated the synteny of human compared to individual species. And what's interesting is that if you look at the p-value, by the way, this is done using regression and not using simple Fisher test or something. And we use regression specifically because we wanted to control for the distance. Obviously, they are closer, so you expect them to have higher synteny just by chance. So we wanted to control for that. So after controlling for that, so there is no issue of power or anything like that here. But the significance monotonically gets worse and worse and worse. And at some point, beyond mammals, it disappears. So it's suggestive of that this is a phenomenon that was recruited in early mammalian development, and it has stayed stuck along since then. Okay, so next major question would have been, are these simply wrongly annotated promoters? Totally possible, not that it diminished the contribution, but still. So what we did was, we looked at all these meth-expressed genes, and for the same loci, we look at other tissues where they are not meth-expressed, where the proximal promoter is actually being used, right? And we simply compared the promoter cage in those cases compared to meth-expressed cases, and clearly there is a lot of evidence that these are not the only promoters, they are alternative promoters working in specific tissue types. Okay. Validation, you can see reviewer number 3 here, obviously. So what sort of validation one can think of? So one obvious thing was, if we have DNMT, DNA methyltransferases, so 3 of them, and if you knock them all out, then there is no methylation going on, so there is no question of promoters getting methylated. Then what happens, right? So ideally, we would like to see a shift of initiation from there to there, if this could happen only when this was not working or something. But unfortunately, there is DNMT knockout data, but there is no CAGE or serine 5P data, so we don't know about the initiation precisely. All we have is RNA-seq data. So we came up with a shoddy approximation of that, which is, we looked at how much signal we see on the right of the start and the left of that, and we compared this ratio with what happens after the DNMT knockout. So we expect to see a slight shift in this density here. Okay? So we see that, but the signal is kind of modest, significant but very, very small, weak signal. So that could be because of not having the right data, or it may be that despite this lifting of the methylation, there is a lot of transcription is coming along from here as well. Okay. So this is just one example, pretty example. There are a few others. So here is a gene, this one, GIGYF1, on the reverse strand. And here is a nice case. This is the methylation track here. See, there is no, so this is a nice unmethylated region overlaying exactly a CPG island. And these are the de novo constructed transcripts from RNA-seq. You see a splicing going on from there to there nicely and all that. So this perfectly fits the scenario we are trying to detect. A few other miscellaneous findings. So these meth-expressed genes tend to have higher tissue specificity. And then we also little bit looked at the mechanism, what makes them tissue specific. So we looked at the putative transcription factors that might be binding in these CPGs, and I asked whether these transcription factors themselves have a differential expression in the tissues where that CGI is working as an alternative promoter, and the answer is yes. So the next question was implication to cancer, right? Because as I mentioned, there is a lot of hypomethylation in cancer, and that might activate CGIs. So first of all, we repeated the entire analysis on these 2 cancer types, because we had the whole genome bisulfite sequencing available. Okay, and it does seem to, so out of all the oncogenes that are expressed in cancer types, 10% of them are because of this phenomenon, apparently. Okay, so we started off these questions, the answers are here. The only thing we still don't have any clue about the purpose of all this. Okay, and the same question I would have for other things we have heard today, about, so we are still exploring that, and that's the end of my story.
There is something big I missed in the talk, actually. So what's your evidence that actually that methylated express promoters are actually sites of transcriptional initiation? Do you have actually cage data from actual methylated sites that tells you, or something similar? Because
yeah. No, absolutely. So we have methylation data and cage data. Oh, I see. So for the same sample, you're saying whether you have methylation and cage.
Because in which sense is it promoter when it's methylated? So that's the same. Do you have evidence that it's actually active when it's methylated?
Yes, we have that data. So for the subset of cell types where we had that data, we corroborated that part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, because the Charles Winston's example looked to me like an incomplete transcript.
The example I showed, this one?
No, the early one. So because it looked like it didn't have a UTR at all.
Oh, the first one, first example, the fat one. Okay, the motivating example. Okay. Yeah, we didn't. That wasn't not in our, because that was in mouse. We didn't do that particular one, so I don't know. Okay. This one. Okay. Yeah. So the point here is what? What are you saying?
So the question is actually, if you have like this bunch of methylated express promoters, so what's the evidence that they are actually methylated, expressed when they're methylated?
I see. So
they are used as promoters when they're methylated.
Yeah. They. My claim is they are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have in other tissues.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Okay. So thanks.
So the reason these aren't annotated as like alternative transcription start sites is they're not meeting the criteria of like the GenCode curators, or they haven't been looking at the right tissue types.
My feeling is because they are highly tissue specific, they have been missed. Yeah.
So do you see any difference between the germline and the soma? Because we know in like gonads, methylated promoters are actually functional, are transcribed.
Okay, and in that case it's not because of an upstream CGI?
I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, something to think about now, I think.
Yeah, now it's making me thinking about it.
That's cool. I mean, we have ES cells in there, but we didn't do anything specifically looked at those, but that's an interesting point.
I'm saying more like in testis, for example. Specifically, we know RNA genes are
because
methylated.
CGIs are specifically unmethylated in germlines throughout. So it's totally possible. I mean, that will be very interesting to look at specific cases. Yeah.
Okay,
thank you.
Yes, I have actually a question about this cartoon, because one piece of information that's missing is the difference in lengths of the CPG islands.
I see.
And also the density of CPGs in the promoters in those different classes.
Oh, yeah, right. These are largely non-CGI promoters, but you still want to look at the CG density.
Yeah, if you have methylation, so you have some CGs there. So
Oh, they definitely have CGs, for sure, yeah.
But is the frequency different?
The CG density, I haven't looked at that. Because they were like totally CPG poor in general, I didn't look further into.